Monday, April 13th, 2026, in a beautiful evening in Middle Island, New York. This is the Geowizdom podcast. I'm Christopher Colenswano. Welcome. So, we are going to talk tonight about liberty. Specifically, we'll be talking about the document, the papal encyclical Libertas, written famously by Pope Leo XIII in 1888, where he really defined the definition of what freedom is. So, freedom, when we think of it here in America, we think of it as a natural right. We think of it as a gift from God. We think of it as something as American citizens that we're entitled to. And it's absolutely true. But the concept of what freedom is has become completely distorted because the church fathers, for example, St. Augustine in the City of God, said very famously that a poor man who maybe even is a slave, if he's free from sin, free from vice, nothing has a hold over him except his own actions, and therefore he is free. Whereas a king, if he is caught up in vice, in sin, is a slave to every one of his desires. And that's really the foundation of Western civilization as we know it. But more importantly and pertinently to what we're going to discuss today, when we're talking about liberty, liberty was always about free to do good. And it's been perverted into the whole concept of license. And Pope Leo in Libertas goes very deeply into this. And he brings up the core ideas of liberalism, which of course goes all the way back to Satan in the fall, which is non serviam. I'm going to do things my way. And he said, of course, more famously as a character in Milton's Paradise Lost, the mind is its own place. Better to reign in hell than serve in heaven. Now, I don't want to talk too much about that tonight, but it needs to be said that this is a foundational issue when we're talking about America, when we're talking about identity, when we're talking about liberty, we're talking about what it means. But what liberty really means is that you're free to do as you ought, to quote Archbishop Fulton J. Sheen. Not freedom to do whatever you want, and common sense dictates that, right? So we have freedom. It's a free country, but if you kill somebody, you will hopefully go to jail for murder. And that's something that has been distorted over the last 200 years in particular. But really, it's a constant fight. But in America, it's institutionalized, and we're told and we're sold again and again, I can say whatever I want. If I want to watch some kind of horrific pornography, if I want to gamble away, my child's savings for college, I'm free to do all that. And again, freedom does not mean do what thou wilt. And the way St. Thomas Aquinas described it is that any person, they're only free in as much as they're doing good and they're serving good, because when you are sinning through your own agency and your own free will, you are actually the slave of that sin and you're serving that sin. For example, so if you were lost in gambling, it was something that really excited you and you spent a lot of your time and earnings on that, then that's not freedom. That's not doing what you want. You're doing what the sin dictates to you. Because, of course, desire is centered around the good, right? So, meaning that, for example, if I see my wife, right, a beautiful woman, I am attracted, there is desire that's rightly ordered, right? So, whatever I might feel. However, if I saw a 19-year-old girl and I felt the same way and decided to think about it and act on it, well, that would be evil. So it's not the actual desire, typically, initially, that is evil. It's the order of it. And that's something that we can never stop thinking about. So if we just say, oh, it's a free country, do what you want, well, no, it's inaccurate. And Pope Leo in the 13th in Libertas really got into that. And just over the past couple of days, our president, in a little bit of a tiff with Pope Leo XIV, who has unquestioningly called out, not by name, President Donald J. Trump, but the leaders of this world. And there is no doubt that we still are the leader of the free world, so to speak. That at least is not being questioned as of yet. Not loudly anyway. But that being said, he thought it was amusing to put a picture of himself in Christ-like robes, in a Christ-like pose over a sick man with white light coming out of his hands, and pictures of spirits and like a devil or a demon behind him in the background. And I guess he thought maybe that was funny. And he did backtrack on TV today, but the damage is really done because, listen, President, your base in this country has been Catholics, and we didn't necessarily like you, we didn't necessarily trust you, but we believed that you would do what was good because it was in your best interest to do so, and you were an interested party in this country through your family, and you have shown nothing less than a traitor's allegiance in the last few weeks. So, not to get too deep into that worldly incident, but now you were free to throw under the bus Alex Jones, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Megyn Kelly, all people who, particularly in Alex Jones's case, really at great personal peril, supported you and sacrificed for you, and you don't seem to have any problem to throw that aside. So let's look at both issues. So on the one hand, you feel free to debase the leader of the Vicar of Christ on earth, Pope Leo XIV, and compare yourself to him in a mocking way. This is the second time. If it was once, maybe you're being funny. We get it. You're a funny guy, and that's not debatable. Donald Trump is an objectively funny guy. He gets the laughs. There's no doubt about that. That being said, so we had that first Pope picture, atrocious. But now, on the heels of mocking Islam on Easter Sunday, really mocking Christianity, you're mocking the Vicar of Christ on earth, Pope Leo XIV. So you're free to do so, but we're free to no longer support you or your policies. And make no mistake, we have been your base. Now, St. Thomas Aquinas, the angelic doctor himself, did say, when making a choice, always choose the lesser of the two evils. And that actually in itself is a good. And that's one of the reasons why Catholics do tend to vote if you're a practicing Catholic, because we believe, and I did believe you, and I'm not sure at this point. Today's the first day I've really questioned if you were the lesser of two evils between Kamala Harris and yourself. And I still think I would make the same choice. But I have to say, you're free to say what you want, but I'm also free to ignore a person who ignores the right dictates of reason. And the right dictates of reason would say that if the largest portion of your base religiously is Roman Catholic, perhaps I would not denigrate their leader. Again, I'm an American. Of course, I have allegiance to America, but my allegiance is to God first. And that's really for any good religious people. And the reason for that is, once again, in the for the common good and in the natural law, it is very much an intersection with the spiritual law, which is an immoral law is no law at all. So when there are certain times and places throughout history where there is a tyranny that not only is unjust in the restrictions it puts on people, but it is in of itself going against the moral law, it then becomes, for good Christians, to become almost an imperative to fight it. And we're very near that place in some ways, and we're absolutely there when it comes to our vicious foreign policy. And what's happening in Lebanon to a Christian president, country with a Christian president, what's happening there is it's just it's unassailably evil. I'm free to say that. You're free to have your own opinion, but we're going to talk more about this next week. But in conclusion, this is why I'm speaking on Libertas and why it's so important. This is a free country, but why are we free? And what are we free from? More importantly, what are we free for? So, good evening. This is the Geowizdom podcast. I'm Christopher Collinswano. Have a good night.